Christmas Eve, 1945, Fayetteville, West Virginia. The air was crisp, filled with the anticipation of Christmas morning. Inside a modest two-story home, the Sodder family slept, unaware of the nightmare about to unfold. George and Jenny Sodder, along with 5 of their 10 children, were about to become central figures in a mystery that would baffle the nation for decades to come. By daybreak, their home lay in ashes, a smoldering testament to a tragedy that continues to haunt. This is the story of the missing Sodder children. The night began like any other. The Sodder family, nestled in their cozy home, had no inkling of the tragedy that was about to unfold. Dinner, laughter, and the excitement of Christmas in the air. The family gathered around the table, sharing stories and enjoying the festive spirit. The 5 youngest Sodder children, Morris, Martha, Louie, Jenny, and Betty, begged for just a little more playtime before bed. Their eyes sparkled with joy as they played with their new toys, unaware of the looming danger. Their pleas were granted, a decision that would later torment George and Jenny. The parents watched their children with a mix of love and concern, not knowing that this moment of happiness would soon turn into a nightmare. Upstairs, the children settled in, their dreams filled with visions of presents and sugar plums. The house was quiet. The only sounds were the soft breaths of the sleeping children and the distant crackle of the fireplace. Downstairs, George and Jenny dozed off, lulled by the crackle of the dying fire in the living room. They felt a sense of peace, believing their family was safe and sound. A sharp smell jolted George awake. His heart raced as he realized something was terribly wrong. The smell of smoke was unmistakable. The house was engulfed in flames. The fire spread rapidly, consuming everything in its path. The once cozy home was now a blazing inferno. Smoke billowed through the hallways. Panic set in. George and Jenny knew they had to act fast to save their children. George and Jenny scrambled to evacuate their children. They fought through the thick smoke, their eyes stinging and lungs burning, desperate to reach their kids. They roused the 4 sleeping upstairs, guiding them through the inferno to safety. The heat was intense and the flames roared around them, but they managed to get the children out. But the 5 youngest were missing. Where could they be? George and Jenny frantically searched, calling out their names, but there was no response. The terror of the night had only just begun. The fire department was called, but their response was delayed. The Sodders, frantic and confused, searched desperately for their missing children. As the flames consumed their home, hope dwindled with each passing moment. When the fire finally subsided, authorities began their investigation. The official verdict: an accidental fire caused by faulty wiring. The missing children, presumed dead, their remains lost in the ashes. The Sodder family, however, refused to accept this explanation. The investigation, they argued, was rushed and incomplete. Key pieces of evidence were ignored. Where were the skeletal remains? 5 young children vanished without a trace? It seemed impossible. The family's grief soon turned to suspicion. Something wasn't right. As the Sodders looked closer, they uncovered more inconsistencies. A witness claimed to have seen the children in a passing car as the fire raged. Another mentioned seeing a man tampering with the family's electrical wires in the weeks leading up to the fire. Had someone deliberately targeted their family? Was it possible their children were still alive, held captive somewhere? The questions gnawed at their sanity. Local authorities, however, dismissed their claims as the ramblings of a grief-stricken family. Their appeals for a more thorough investigation fell on deaf ears. The Sodders, feeling isolated and betrayed, refused to give up. They were determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. They had to know what happened to their children. Weeks turned into months, and the trail seemed to grow cold. Then, a glimmer of hope emerged. A witness came forward, claiming to have seen a strange car parked near the Sodder home on the night of the fire. The car, a dark sedan, was occupied by several individuals who seemed to be watching the house intently. Could this be the same car that another witness had seen speeding away from the scene with children inside? The Sodder family clung to this new lead, their hope rekindled. This wasn't just a tragic accident, someone had taken their children, but who, and why? The mystery deepened, casting a long shadow over the once peaceful town of Fayetteville. Years later, the Sodders received a cryptic piece of mail. It was an ordinary day when the letter arrived, but its contents were anything but ordinary. The envelope, aged and worn, bore stamps from a distant place, adding to the mystery. The Sodders had long given up hope of finding any new clues about their missing children, but this letter reignited a spark of hope. Inside was a photograph of a young man, his face bearing a striking resemblance to their missing son, Louis. The resemblance was uncanny, almost as if Louis had aged, but retained his familiar features. The Sodders' hearts raced as they examined the photograph, wondering if this could truly be their lost son. On the back of the photograph, a handwritten note. Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie, Elil boys. The message was cryptic and filled with errors, but it was enough to stir the Sodders' emotions. Who was Frankie? And what did Elil boys mean? The note raised more questions than it answered. A 90132 or 35. Was this their son? The numbers added another layer of mystery. Were they a code, an address, or something else entirely? The Sodders were left to ponder the significance of these digits. Had he survived the fire? The photograph brought back painful memories of the night their house burned down. They had always believed that their children perished in the flames, but this new evidence suggested otherwise. Could Louis have escaped and been living under a different identity all these years? The Sodders, though cautiously optimistic, spared no effort in tracking down the source of the photograph. They meticulously examined every detail, hoping to find a clue that would lead them to Louis. The photograph became a beacon of hope, guiding their relentless search. They hired private investigators, followed every lead, and chased every dead end. The search was exhaustive and often frustrating, but they refused to give up. Each new lead, no matter how small, was pursued with vigor and determination. But the identity of the young man and the sender of the photograph remained elusive. Despite their best efforts, the Sodders could not uncover the truth. The young man in the photograph remained a mystery, as did the person who sent it. The message, however, served as a painful reminder. Their children could still be out there, somewhere. The photograph and the note kept the hope alive, even as the years passed. The Sodders clung to the possibility that one day, they might be reunited with their lost children. Despite the dead ends and the passage of time, the Sodder family never gave up hope. They erected billboards along Route 16, displaying the faces of their missing children, pleading for any information that might lead to their whereabouts. They dedicated their lives to finding their children, their determination fueled by an unbreakable bond of love and an unwavering belief that they were still alive. Years turned into decades, and the Sodder children case became a national obsession. Theories abounded, ranging from accidental electrocution to a mafia-related kidnapping. Books were written, documentaries filmed, and countless amateur sleuths emerged, all hoping to solve the mystery that had captivated the nation. Some theories suggested the children had been taken by relatives seeking revenge against George for his outspoken criticism of Mussolini. George Sodder, an Italian immigrant, was known for his strong political views, particularly his vocal opposition to the fascist regime in Italy. This made him a target for those who still held loyalty to Mussolini, even from afar. The idea that family members or acquaintances, still loyal to the dictator, could have orchestrated such a heinous act was not far-fetched. It painted a picture of a vendetta that crossed oceans and borders, reaching into the quiet life George had built in America. Others pointed to the possible involvement of organized crime, speculating that the children were kidnapped and sold into an illegal adoption ring. The 1940s were a time when organized crime had a significant influence in many parts of the United States. The idea that the Sodder children could have been taken by a criminal organization and sold to families who could not have children of their own added another layer of complexity to the mystery. This theory suggested a well-coordinated operation, one that could easily evade the limited investigative resources of the time. The lack of concrete evidence, however, made it impossible to confirm any of these theories. Despite numerous investigations and the family's relentless pursuit of the truth, no definitive proof ever surfaced. The case files remained open, filled with dead ends and unanswered questions. Each theory, while plausible, lacked the hard evidence needed to bring closure to the Sodder family. The mystery lived on, fueled by whispers and speculation. Over the years, the story of the Sodder children became a part of local folklore, whispered about in hushed tones and passed down through generations. The lack of resolution only added to the intrigue, making it a topic of endless speculation and debate. Despite the lack of answers, one thing remained clear. The Sodder family had been wronged. Their grief was palpable, their loss immeasurable. The pain of not knowing what happened to their children haunted them for the rest of their lives. The community's support, while comforting, could never fill the void left by the missing children. Whether by a tragic accident, a cruel act of arson, or a sinister kidnapping, their lives had been irrevocably altered on that fateful Christmas Eve. The fire that consumed their home was just the beginning of their nightmare. The unanswered questions and the lack of closure only deepened their sorrow, leaving them to grapple with the unknown for decades. Their story served as a chilling reminder that even in the most ordinary of places, darkness can lurk, and sometimes the most heart-wrenching mysteries are left unsolved. The Sodder family's tragedy is a testament to the fact that not all stories have happy endings, and some questions may never be answered. It stands as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring impact of unresolved loss. 80 years have passed since the fire that claimed the lives of 5 innocent children. 80 years of unanswered questions. 80 years of speculation and heartache. The Sodder children case remains an open wound, a haunting reminder of a mystery that may never be solved. Today, the Sodder home is gone, replaced by a memorial garden dedicated to the memory of the missing children. The billboards along Route 16, once a beacon of hope, have faded with time. But the memory of the Sodder children lives on, etched in the hearts of their family and in the annals of unsolved mysteries. The Sodder children case stands as a testament to the enduring power of hope and the devastating impact of unanswered questions. It is a story that forces us to confront the fragility of life and the darkness that can sometimes reside in the shadows. It is a story that reminds us that even in the face of unimaginable loss, the human spirit can endure, fueled by love, determination, and the unwavering pursuit of truth. Will we ever know what truly happened on that tragic Christmas Eve in 1945? Perhaps one day the truth will emerge from the ashes. Until then, the mystery of the Sodder children continues to haunt us all.